So I am here today with Nawal, Nader French, and we are going to be talking a bit about the art of the postcard. We are all artists, which is in the South Gallery right now of the Firehouse Art Center. It opened on February 11th, and it is going to be on display until March 6th. And just to give a little bio, Nawal is a writer, editor, and educator. Her first book, A Record of How the Mother's Textile Became Sound, will be published by Noemi Press. Did I say that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Fantastic. In March 2023. Her second manuscript, An Improvised Song, is likely to come apart and scatter in infinite directions, was a finalist in the 2021 CAAPP Book Prize and Autumn House Press Poetry Contest. Her poems appear in Rhino, Fence, Texas Review, Bayou Magazine, and elsewhere. Nawal has an MFA in creative writing and poetry from Regis University. In the past, she taught secondary English, authored high school curriculum, and graduate professional development courses, was the e-learning coordinator in St. Vrain Valley Schools, and recently an adjunct instructor in FRCC's Department of English. Nawal is the founding editor-in-chief of Inverted Syntax, and she currently lives in Longmont with her husband and children. So I'm going to pass it over to her just to give a short rundown on what this exhibit is and what it means to her.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Elaine. And thank you for accepting the application so that we could showcase these postcards that we've been receiving since 2018. I applied last year. It was probably about a year or two that we've been thinking about showcasing the postcards, not just because of the art, but because of the writing, and and it was really exciting when we were able to do that, so yeah.
Awesome. And so this is a project that you started with Inverted Syntax,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And what is Inverted Syntax?
So Inverted Syntax is an art and literary magazine. I started it in 2018 with a number of students who were graduate students from the MFA program at Regis, and we started small. We thought we would just be this platform to show students work from Regis University. We weren't sure we were going to be a journal yet, and then before I knew it, people were just encouraging me to take it to the next step. And that's the year we put a call out for postcards, and we were surprised because nobody knew who we were yet. Mm-hmm. And I went to the PO Box here in Longmont, it's just like 20 postcards were there already. I'm like, how did they hear about us? But that was fantastic, and it's just escalated since then, yeah. So Inverted Syntax is art and literary magazine, and we publish usually hybrid work, experimental work. We look at the things that are outliers, that break tradition and form and aesthetic. So, yeah.
Very cool. And we actually have 3 of the magazines here. So
this is issue
1, 2, and 3. So
yes.
This is the 3rd one.
Yes.
And these are not just, like little magazines. These are like full-on, fully published books with visual arts, writing, poetry, all sorts of great things. So definitely come check them out, and check them out on the website.
That's right.
And then as far as, I know you identify as a writer, but are you also a visual artist?
Well, I used to be a visual artist. I think I wouldn't say I identify as one, and I'm trying to get back to it. And I can tell you a story.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. Before I went to UNC, I was at Frontway Community College, and I was taking art classes, and art was my minor when I went to UNC, but I dropped it because of other complications in my life at the time, which I regret. But in the year at Front Range, they had a joint exhibit competition with CSU, and I was encouraged to submit some. So I had 2 pieces I submitted. One was very abstract, and the other was more cubist. And they were both in, I want to say, watercolor and acrylic. I can't remember, and there was some collaging in the abstract. So we went to the exhibit, and this is I think this is 1998, I want to say. And I won first prize.
Yay!
For one, and I won this, and I don't think they realized it was the same artist, because it was blind. And the second prize, which was a purchase prize, so that my piece would be exhibited throughout different schools, so I won a purchase prize as well for both of the pieces. And I didn't know I walked in there, so that was like my one shining moment in the art world.
That's fantastic.
That's
a great moment.
That's a great moment. And then I stopped doing it. Yeah.
Well, maybe this will get
This
you
has
into...
all inspired me completely. My house is now full of paints and canvases, and I'm ready. I'm getting back into it. Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you guys know, but the Firehouse Art Center actually has a writers community as well. And we do offer writers workshops and poetry night. And I have talked to a lot of writers in the community, and they've been talking kind of about how the pandemic has affected them as writers. Do you find that anything's changed being a writer in the pandemic?
For me personally, I really enjoyed meeting other writers at coffee shops, and in the beginning of the pandemic, no one was doing that. That was very difficult. Mm-hmm. I think you can't do anything in a vacuum, and pandemic put us all in these little shelves, and some people really enjoyed it. I think just being able to stay at home. But for some of us, even those of us, like I'm more of an introvert, it was difficult because I couldn't tap into, I couldn't find that inspiration outside of my space. I needed to get out. It wasn't just looking at nature. I needed to have conversations, because that informs what I'm writing about, thinking about, and it was just very, I don't know, it impacted. And it's changed, like I'd say in the last 6 months, it's changed. I found myself taking a lot of Zoom courses and classes, because that was the only way to have those, writer conversations and art conversations with people. So that became, I think for a lot of people, that became the outlet and the resource was Zoom conversations or classes. I don't know if that's helpful.
No, that's totally perfect.
Yeah.
And yeah, so as the pandemic kind of forced you to become a little bit more insular, did you change up your writing environment, or?
I did.
Yeah.
I really did. I changed everything in my house. I'm just stuck in my house. Every room started getting renovated. My office was just a dumping ground, honestly, and it had to be the place I could go to, that coffee shop with the comfortable lights and seats and shelves, and I wanted it to be a retreat for myself. So I did. I got bookshelves, chandelier.
Ooh, fantastic.
I put my plants in the window. I got a new desk. It just carpet, and it looks like a space that anybody would want to write in. I think so. Yes, I did that. Yep.
Cool. And as you were heading into 2022, do you have any other writing plans? Where do you see yourself going, both for yourself and also inverted syntax?
Okay. I'll answer for inverted syntax first. Inverted syntax is going to be opening for submission calls. So we're publishing a 4th issue in November, and so we're going to be opening in the next month or 2. We want to open our sublingual prize for poetry, which is a $1,000 prize for a winning poem, and then we have 9 finalists. We've had 2 writers, pretty accomplished writers. Dorothy Lasky did 2019, and Khadijah Queen did 2020, I believe. And then we didn't run it in 2021, it was too messy. For all of the editors on board. And so I think if we can figure those things out, that's what we'd like to do this year, is reopen the Sublingual Prize for poetry. And of course the postcard, that's ongoing, that never closes. It's free, you don't have to pay anything, you just have to send it to us, mail it to us. One of the big dreams we have for Inverted Syntax is to start publishing actual books, because we publish books, like we know how to publish books. So we're thinking we would like to pick some good writers and publish them. Some of the writers we've picked to publish, like Leonora Simonovis is her name. She opens up this book right here, I believe. Leonora is the first book. And is it this book? Oh no, it's the second one.
Okay.
Sorry, here.
That's great.
So issue 2, wrong. Have I got the wrong book? Yeah, of Mouths and Tongues. She won the Colorado Prize for Poetry. Won it. I mean, that's just huge. And then there's so many other writers all the way through that have won prizes and have books published. And so the editors and I have been talking, thinking, well, we know who the good writers are. Why are we not inviting them and publishing them, or running a contest where we say, don't just submit poems, submit your manuscript. So that might be maybe 2 years in the making still, down the road, for Inverted Syntax. So those are the plans. As for me, I took a class recently with Chip Livingston. I've taken 2 classes with him, and he's a poet. He lives in Uruguay now. And I also took another class with Lady Long Soldier. I don't know if you know her. She wrote Whereas, poetry book Whereas. And she, it was a 5-week course. She does docu-poetics. So the next thing for me is I'm working on this docu-poetic book, which I'm obsessed with. It's just so crazy. I'm just I can't even stand it. It's so exciting. The course was amazing, transformative.
Docu-poetics.
Docu-poetics. It's how do I explain it? It's almost like a written, it's a documentary, but you are lifting it in a poetic light, but you're also bringing a new perspective to it. So for example, she wrote about the United States apologies to the way Native Americans have been treated in some parts of the book. But what she did is she highlighted, so she did a lot of erasure, for example, and so she highlighted language, how it can be, how when it's used, it may sound like it's an apology, but let's look at what's really happening. What's the undertone here? It's almost like what's the word? Not the sub-language, I can't think.
Is that writer's block?
It's a writer's block right there. It's just that added layer, that not hidden meaning, but it's
subconscious.
So there's some subtextual. Yeah, the subtext. It's exactly what that is. It's subtext. Yes. And so docu-poetics is asking you to when you're writing, you're kind of taking these political documents, it could be familial documents, and so that's what I'm using. I'm using a combination of family documents and colonial documents as well, because I grew up in Ghana and Lebanon. So mine's going to be focused on my Ghanaian heritage and some of the colonial exploitations that happened there, and the way the language in their documents is just so whitewashed and just sanitized, completely sanitized. I'm going to lift it to really show what the subtext is. Does that make sense?
Yes, that completely makes sense.
Okay.
So we are going to take a walk around the show and kind of just look at a couple of the postcards. And I also wanted to show these, which are actually, somebody came in, we have a postcard making station that is included in the exhibit, and you can take a card, and there are magazines and books and markers, and you can make your own postcards, and you can add them to inverted syntaxes We Are All Artists, the Postcard show, and also kind of submit it for ongoing shows as well. And then I also wanted to, before we move on to our next space, talk about two opportunities. We have a virtual artist talk coming up with Salama Ahmed, and she is actually going to be zooming in with us from the UK for a virtual talk. And it's called Looking at You, Looking at Me, Postcard Women in the Contact Zone. So that is going to be February 20th from 2 to 3, and we have more on our website. If you are interested in collage art and want to come in for an in-person art class to make postcards of your own, Andrea Rexilius is coming, and she is going to be doing an in-person workshop February 27th. From 2 to 3 as well. So come with any books, magazines, and stickers, glue, anything you want, but Firehouse will have some stuff as well. And that sign up is also on our Eventbrite, which is, you can get to it from our website. So stay tuned, we're gonna walk around and show you some cool postcards, and Nawal is probably gonna share some stories about the writers and the artwork, and yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
All right, before we get into the exhibit, I just want to give a quick thank you to the editors and the readers of Inverted Syntax who have been supporting the journal since we started it in 2018. They are a bunch of volunteer editors and readers. They dedicate their time, they have full-time jobs, but they dedicate their time to helping us get the journal off the ground, print issues, online issues, proofing, editing, communicating with contributors, you name it, they're doing it. And they're just phenomenal, talented group of people. I'm just very lucky to have on staff at Inverted Syntax. And oh, there you have, Jessica Davis is right there. And next is Alyssa Hertz. And that is Melanie Merle. And Jessica Mirambo and Ginny Short. And I just want to say they're amazing, phenomenal people, and Inverted Syntax would not be where it is without their support.
So this wall is mostly your purchased postcards. So artists and writers picked up postcards and they sent them to us since 2018. Right over here is just a few vintage cards in our collection. There's only about 7 of them. It's just sort of to add to that purchased postcard. They range from 1903 to 1931. You may handle any of the cards. You can stand behind and look at them. You can also take them out. Every single one of the postcards has a little QR, well, not every single one, there's a few that don't, but they have QR codes, and that takes you directly to a page for them. And some of them may even have little videos of themselves talking to you about their postcard creation or their postcard life. So if it has a little video icon on there, it means they've got a message for you. So these are little, I guess, wood slats that we created to put up here. And if I had a bigger wall, what I would have done is really spread apart, because the vision initially was, because it's purchased postcards, it was usually coming from different places in the world as well. Not that the created ones don't, but it's typically, you know, here this one says greetings from Newcastle, Australia, and this is also Australia down here. And then we've got France and Ireland. I think these two are Germany and this is Spain. And so what I was trying to do in the beginning was sort of place them geographically across a map, and it just didn't work that way, because now Australia is over here and Spain and Germany are on this side, because we couldn't put Australia here because you wouldn't be able to read it. So anyway, so that was kind of the rationale behind that, was to space them out as far as where they came from. So as far as cards go, one of the interesting cards, actually there's so many interesting ones, Grace, I can't pronounce her name, I don't know if it's Desmarais. She writes a postcard, and these can come out, but they may be tricky to put back in. I'll never forget to say I love you ever again. So she wrote that over a card, and she picked this up in a trip to Paris. It's a Vermeer painting, and behind it she's done a little cartoon sketch, which I really love, and I'd let you come in and read this, but the little message that she sent us that I put up here about her card. She says, in 2017, my best friend and ex-boyfriend took his own life. In 2020, his father took his own life. I've been struggling personally with mental health my whole life, so this was a postcard about grief. The ephemeral quality of postcards offered an opportunity for me to feel safe, sharing my grief with strangers, given I often struggle with my writing and illustration work. This postcard is a Vermeer painting that I've been saving from a trip to Paris. It just broke my heart. I just was so devastated when I read this one. But you should come and have a look at that card. Another card which I thought was interesting was Dustin. I read this one, I think I've read this one about 10 times. And my spouse and I, we cry when we read this one. And maybe it's not teary, maybe it's just us, but I haven't got my glasses. So this one, it just says Utah, Land of Contrast. It's just a regular postcard. I have debated writing this since my arrival. 6 days on the road without you. Every cup of coffee in each state tastes the same. A taste of longing, wondering what it would be like to run into you here, 1,700 miles away from everything. Would it be possible for us to meet again, to be who we should have been for each other? And new beginnings, are new beginnings even real? You said we would meet again, in parentheses. And go back in here. He says about that, I'm writing a postcard that has a very big place in my heart. My husband and I recently separated. During our time together, we traveled to around 40 states. Our separation has not been easy. I lost my best friend. I just traveled without him for the first time. And I wondered every single day what it would be like to run into him miles away from the things that tore us apart. He always said we would meet again, and I still wonder if that is a possibility. Heart just breaks for this. People just pouring their hearts out and sending it to us. I just thought it was so powerful. And these were some of the reasons why I started thinking this is more than just, this could be more than just, being published online. We could do something with this, especially when we started getting the creative cards. I won't go into any more here. I think the ones from abroad, this is the creepiest one. No information about him, date in Meisner. I'll let you come read it. This one right here, before I forget, sorry, this one. This postcard is from Krampus Dark Arts Market, held by a crew of Krampus in New Orleans, Louisiana. It sheds glitter, which is very on brand for New Orleans. I bought it for my mother, who taught me to love all things strange and creepy. She died suddenly before I could send it to her. I don't know if you can see it right there. So sad. So lots of stories about lost loves and lost mothers and so on. Gosh, there's so many I want to talk about, but I'm going to stop. I'm going to move over here. Before I do, this is a little bird cage I set up here. Pegged some I think I've run out of the brown ones, but we pegged cards on here. You can just take these cards and walk over there to that station where Elaine has put some really great scrappy stuff for you to use to make your own postcard. So we're going to walk over here, and I wanted to bring some more challenges. That's what I was going to do. When you suggested it, I thought I would do that today. So here is a collection from one person. I think I have about maybe 15 more at home. Just couldn't. He would have the whole room really. And he started sending stuff to us under the title or the name, Churnage. And so we would get these. Let me just find one that just says Churnage. So we would get it. Some of them are sent in envelopes, and some of them were stamped. So this one was sent in an envelope, and you can just see this is all we would get. Churnage at Yahoo. And we didn't know how Churnage identified. We didn't know Churnage's race, and it didn't really matter to us. We just really loved the work we were receiving. Over here, because that's purchase postcards over there. So this is where we continue to purchase postcards because he sent some of those, and then this right here is like his created work. And let's see, this is one of our favorite ones right here. It's a purchase postcard again. It says excuse my language, fuck Dorothy, I'm not going home again, and fuck Emerald City, and it's junky scarecrows, it's creepy lines with rapist paws, and it's mechanical men who march in subway parades. I'm grabbing the next Greyhound and heading west, somewhere far away from this forsaken fantasy. So it's written this way, that's why I was told in my head. But really interesting, really, really interesting. And then we move into his other creative works. And this is, journey starts changing. This is 2021 from him. As you can tell, like they're mostly these 4x6s right here, and now we start getting these, I think these are much more interesting, bigger pieces, right? I guess it's kind of moving into big, larger art pieces. These came, there's nothing behind these ones, these came in envelopes. So there's some of them sort of are politically charged, they're emotionally charged. Yeah, fantastic. I think they're fantastic pieces of work. He uses pieces from art magazines, and what he writes about them, he says, and you can come and scan this and find some more of his work online. My postcards are like, and there's going to be more language, my postcards are like smelling salts for immediate concussed culture. I want people, myself included, to wake the fuck up. I use surrealism, subversion, juxtaposition, humor, non sequiturs, randomness, questions, among other techniques to go coax, woo viewers out of the awakened sleep. Sometimes I start by collaging cut-out images on a black postcard canvas. Sometimes I paint a large piece of foam core, and a lot of them are foam core. Foam core, these three are all foam core right here, and I have a ton of foam core at home. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I paint a large piece of foam core with all kinds of crazy colors and then chop it up into smaller postcard canvases, then add words and images as necessary. Sometimes I paint over collaged images. I'm still learning and experimenting with different techniques. I started making collaged postcards for family members who are away from home. They responded enthusiastically to these handcrafted creations, so I kept at it. He is our Banksy. That's who Trinidad is. So we love him. He created one piece with his son, and that's all we have information on. My son, Jimmy Colburn, helped create this piece. So that's it right there, which I thought was very cute, very lovely. Should we move on to the rest of these? Yeah? Yeah. Okay. This is Samantha Miller. Samantha Miller, I love this story, and I almost put all of it up. She sent us this postcard, and it took forever to get to us. We couldn't find it, and I had to apologize. And she'd worked so hard. This is a mixed media copy of a family photo sealed with beeswax. So it's really tacky when you touch it, right? It's very sticky. And so you might see, it might look like the glass is dirty, but it isn't. It's the tackiness of the beeswax on the glass behind it. And so we didn't get it. And so she made an identical one. I have two of these. She made an identical one and sent it to us. So we have two of these, and this is the reverse of that. What's interesting about Samantha, she's a writer, and she, this house, it shows my brother, my sister, and I playing in an abandoned homestead in Onion Creek, Washington, 73. Our parents had recently purchased land, and we lived in a canvas tent while they dismantled the cabin and built another from old timbers and new logs. They basically lived on the land without electricity and so on. And so she started writing a lot of things surrounding that. So she kind of used the postcard and the postcard in our submission call, and a lot of them do that to help inspire them in their writing process, which I'll mention in the next few postcards. Over here is Michael Thompson, and I don't know if I should mention what Michael Thompson does, but he is focused on, and he says it in his information here, that he mails fake postage stamps, and he's been doing that since '91. So the artwork is fantastic. And what I think he's doing is that he's distracting the Postal Service with its artwork, that they're not paying attention to the stamps. That's what I think is happening. But yeah, those are fantastic. So moving over here and kind of talking about how writers are using Postcard as a way to help them create their, jumpstart or as part of their writing process. I think this is Joe Gorman, am I right? Yeah, that's Joe Gorman. And Joe Gorman says, every time I travel to another city, no matter how small, I send postcards to family and friends. Dear Mom is my conversation from my novella in process, an epistolary novella in flash that includes the character in the Dear Mom postcard. So she just started making her own postcards and saying, Dear Mom, it's official, I'm an orphan, Dad died 4 months ago, goes on. And so she's got a few of them that she's sent to us. And she kind of changes things up here. She starts sending us these chairs and tells us about how chairs have always been dear to me. And then this one is hilarious. Stockmore chair with sharks around it in the ocean is from a nightmare. This is really fun. Anyway, this one has been, you will recognize, oops, sorry, my alarm. This one has been featured in our, what do you call it, our marketing for the Postcard exhibit. And this is by Claire Lawrence, and she's also in issue 2, which I didn't make the connection up until a few months ago. She's also in issue 2, and the piece in issue 2 also is similar to this. The context is about her mother-in-law. The artwork captures an intimate moment when my mother-in-law was waiting to be assessed for Alzheimer's. My father-in-law was desperate to prove that she was cognizant and well. He reminded her of their shared stories, people and places, but Alzheimer's is a rabid brain gardener. It pruned her prefrontal cortex, eventually erasing all aspects of her life and who she was. Just so devastating. Anyway, there's that. And then, it just moves into, these hand drawings, and then we start moving into some collaging, and then working our way down to photography. So these are their photographies, and then they put them on postcards, all the way down to just a unique way of saying that someone considers this art. This is the front of the postcard, is the actual writing right here. These two right here are here. So this right here is Alyssa Hertz, and she's one of our editors. And this is Ginny Short. She's also one of our editors. She's on there as well. This is by Mika Ayako. She's a Denver-based writer, poet, and those are hers as well. So I invite you to come down and pick them up and read about them. And finally, over here, we have Salama Ahmed, and she is a UK-based writer, and she, I think I discovered her online accidentally. I can't remember, but loved her work, and we wanted to feature it online. And so I think for the last 2 years maybe. And so when I invited her, I asked her if she would send us some postcards, and she was so gracious to send us her 7 postcards. This is the first one here, and they are 7 cautionary tales, so they're in a series. That's the first one, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and you can read the reverse sides right here on this little plaque. And Salma is doing a talk with us on Sunday, so we're going to be introducing her there, so I'm not going to spend too much time here. But I encourage you to come and check these. These are truly works of art right now. And right here, Andrea Rexilius also doing a workshop on the 27th. And Andrea is a Denver-based writer. Also, she will be doing the workshop. So I'm not gonna, because I know we're running out of time. Am I right? We're not running out of time. If we're not, I actually love to. I'd love to read about some if we're not running out of time.
Well, she's going to talk about it.
She is, right? You're right.
So,
right, same
but
thing.
Andrea's going to be doing the hands-on workshop. So if you want to talk about Andrea's work.
Well, yeah, I mean, Andrea didn't really talk about her work herself, so hopefully she will in person. But I mean, she is a poet, collage artist. I know Andrea from Regis University. She is the coordinator, she's the coordinator of the MFA program. She's the one in charge. She's published about 4 or 5 books of poetry. And her art has been featured in different places, including Inverted Syntax. And I'd love to show you some of her other art, actually. She's been in here. Let's see if I can find it. This is also Andrea's. And Salma has also been, this is also Andrea's. And one more thing, Salma has also been, is it this one? Salma has also, oh, there it is. Salma has also been featured in here in issue 2. The Beloved's I Am and I Am Not, on finding postcard women. So there's her artwork, I should say, and her photography artwork, and a piece that she wrote all featured in here. So as far as Andrea's work goes, I believe she, except for these 2, and I know maybe not this green piece of paper, but these 4 right here are Christian Dior postcards. When I looked at them on the reverse, I could see that she had collaged, or she has collaged over using string, actual needles are wedged in there. And she's got this theme. There's a lot of eyes going repeated throughout, and there's owls as well. There's echoing of owls. There's feathers, branches throughout. So I'm curious to ask her more about that. And Andrea and Salma both have videos out about their process online. If you scan this code right here, in Andrea's code, you'll learn more about their pieces and their process in creating these pieces. I don't know if that's, I feel like I rushed at the end, I'm so sorry.
But I also did want to say, so the talk with Salma is going to be on February 20th. We are going to be Zooming, so she is, I think, 8 hours in advance, so we have to figure out a time. So it's Sunday, February 20th at 2 p.m. We're going to Zoom onto Facebook live stream, so you can just visit our Facebook page and you can view the talk. And if you have any questions, put that in the comments. And just to get you excited, so Salma says the set of 7 postcards created for this exhibition are called 7 Cautionary Tales, which is what you mentioned, made instinctively, but each tale poses visual questions about what societies warn women about, and creates juxtapositions between East and West, pointing at types and tropes. So it'll be a very interesting talk, and I'm looking forward to speaking with her, and I hope you can join us on Facebook. And then, of course, then Andrea's class is going to be here at the Firehouse. You do have to sign up, and space is limited, so make sure you get onto our website and then go to our Eventbrite page to register. So the workshop is actually free, but we just have to worry about space. And Andrea is going to be leading this participatory craft seminar, and we will discuss collage techniques, our means of communication, and determine what speaks to us aesthetically. So we're all going to be creating our own collage postcards. So bring any materials that you want, photos, anything like that, and the Firehouse will be providing some as well. So, but yeah.
I just want to add one more thing. We had a huge response, just so everybody knows that about 15 different people wanted to participate, be able to do a talk or a workshop or whatever we wanted them to do of our writers and artists featured here. So we may do something through Inverted Syntax with them, because we did not anticipate to get that huge of a response. So just want you to know that, and just keep an eye on that.
Yeah, and if you're part of our writers community in Longmont, the Firehouse has their writers workshop coming up this Friday. So it's the 3rd Friday of the month is our writers workshop, and everyone is super inviting, and it is open to all levels, and they start at 7 o'clock, and there's prompts and all sorts of fun things. And then our poetry night, which is the last Friday of the month, is happening weeks, something like that. But yeah, so it always changes. It could either be the 4th Friday or the 5th Friday, but it's always the last Friday of the month for poetry. So come on down to come see the exhibit. We're in the South Gallery. Again, this show is only up until March 6th, and then it gets all taken down, and I'm very sad because Nawal has put so much work into presenting these postcards in a way that really connects the visual artistry of what these people have created with the written word that's on the back. So it's fascinating work. You can make your own postcard to add to the next show, the next inverted syntax submission call. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you in the gallery.